Well, it is Sunday evening, so you know what that means. It is time for us to go on and talk about our weather for the week forecast, and we have some weather to talk about tonight, mainly being with our temperatures staying warm, getting hot, potentially 90s coming in as we go throughout this week. So, a lot of stuff to talk about, and we're going to talk about how our drought will continue as we get into the further parts of the week as well. I'm your meteorologist, Jesse Peterson, and let's go on and talk about the weather for your Sunday evening going into your week. So, starting off, as always, we usually would go in and talk about what's on tap, but unfortunately, this program that I use for what's on tap is currently down, so we're just going to have to go on and push through. Starting off, what's going on in terms of our current conditions? Well, right now, no rainfall is going on throughout the entire state of South Carolina. But if we scroll our way out, see what's going on throughout the entire U.S., we do, in fact, have some rainfall going on not only throughout parts of like Texas, Louisiana, Arkansas, but also up here inside of the Northeast in like New England, from Maine down into the Vermont, New Hampshire, Massachusetts, New York, Michigan. We're getting some rainfall down to Illinois, like Chicago, Wisconsin, and then over there in the west, we do also have some rainfall with some snowfall going on as well. Snowfall going on in the northern parts, like the mountains of California. But for the most part, I do believe that rainfall will continue over there as they have that Pacific storm going on. Let's see what's going on in terms of our cloud cover. Well, cloud cover right now definitely is going on up there in the very far upstate, but to be honest, I think that that's really one of the only areas. Maybe a little bit of the PD areas, but everyone else seems to be more on the clear side. And if we look at that cloud cover for the future, we're going to start off here at 9 p.m. And you can definitely see as we go into tonight, you can definitely see how this cloud cover right here wants to kind of gain traction as we go into tonight. Now, here's 1 o'clock in the morning. You can definitely see there still is a good amount of clear spots going on, but definitely some fog cover going on. This is fog cover going on here around 11 p.m., 12 o'clock in the morning, 1 o'clock in the morning, and then by the time you get to around 4, 5, 6 a.m., fog cover going on inside of the coastal areas, and then maybe even some cloud cover going on in the upstate, going on in the Midlands, going on in the low country. And then as this continues to move its way over into the east, by the time you get into around 8 a.m. and 9 a.m., cloud cover will really start to build as we get into tomorrow. Now, if you go into tomorrow afternoon, cloud cover continues, and then as you go into, this is around 9, 10 p.m. tomorrow night, cloud cover continues its way over into the east, and we actually clear up a little bit by the time we get into Tuesday morning. We move into Tuesday afternoon, going into Tuesday evening. Cloud cover is going to continue to try and move its way from the west to east, but still seems like that it's going to be mostly clear as we start off the day on Tuesday. Now, as we go on and check and see what's going on in terms of our current temperatures, looks like that we're going to be around 66 in Charleston, 65, Somerville, 67 in Beaufort, 65 Georgetown, and you're just seeing that pattern as we go throughout the low country, the Grand Strand areas, of temperatures in the 60s. And then as you go into like the Midlands, 73, Columbia, 72, Hartsville, 70, Florence, 70, Sumter. So Midlands, PD areas more in the 70s. And then the upstate, kind of a mix. You see 66 in Newberry, 68 in Greenville, 72 in Clemson, as well as 69 in Anderson, 67 in York, and 68 in Gaffney. So things are going to change as we go into tonight, and we're going to look at those low temperatures in just a second, and we'll see how far they drop. But it's not going to be by too much. Air quality for tonight, we're at a moderate risk for kind of like half of us, maybe 40-60, because the upstate's kind of covered with that moderate. Same thing over there inside of the northeastern Midland areas, maybe the northwestern PD areas. And then as we get into like the Western Midlands as well, we also do have a moderate risk over there. Now, this is in terms of air quality, so it's not quite bad as you may think, but it is still something you should watch out for if you're going to be outside tonight for a long period of time. Everybody else inside the good category, low country, Grand Strand, Eastern PD areas, Florence is included in there as well. Now for our low temperatures tonight, you have around 57 in Greenville, Spartanburg, as well as Rock Hill, 57 in Anderson, as well as Lawrence and Newberry, 58 in Columbia, 57 in Winsboro, Camden, 57 in Sumter, 57 in Orangeburg, as well as 55 in Barnwell, 55 Walterboro, 57 in Moncks Corner, 56 in Kingstree, and 58 in Florence, 58 Dillon, 62 over there from Myrtle Beach down through Charleston, and 63 in Hilton Head Island. Now for our high temperatures for tomorrow, we're continuing to kind of stay more in the 80s for tomorrow. We're just seeing like 82 in Greenville, Spartanburg, Rock Hill, Greenwood, 85 in Columbia, Orangeburg 83, Moncks Corner 78, Charleston 79, near those coastal areas like Georgetown 75 and Myrtle Beach. So we're going to kind of just stay warm tomorrow. Going to stay in the mid 80s, definitely for those Midland areas. Now for our rainfall, rain is not expected at this time, so you don't have to bring any rain gear with you. No rain boots, no umbrella, nothing like that is expected as we go throughout the next 24 hours. Now for the crazy score. If you have no idea what the crazy score is, it is a score that we see how active our conditions is throughout the entire state of South Carolina. And right now we're at an 8. Why? Well, it's going to be calm tonight. That's definitely the main reason why. I mean, yes, we have some cloud cover maybe trying to move its way through, but not everybody is quite cloudy yet. That winds are going to be calm. You're going to see some humidity that's going to kind of increase a little bit, not making it so dry, but still not too muggy. And then, even as we go into our temperatures aren't going to be that bad either. So definitely a tranquil, rain-free night. SPC outlook for tonight. No thunderstorms are expected tonight, tomorrow, or Tuesday. So we're good there. And then in terms of fire weather, nothing for tonight, but tomorrow, Monday, April the 13th, the very far, like northern upstate, more like eastern, near Rock Hill, we have an elevated risk of fire weather tomorrow. So again, it's a very small part of the state. The only areas that may be up there, maybe like Lake Wiley, maybe over there near Tega Cay, near Bowling Green, South Carolina, Clover, South Carolina. These areas are in that area for the elevated risk, but it's not anything like critical or extremely critical level. So just try to avoid burning anything tomorrow, especially if you're up there in those northern regions, and if you just don't have to burn anything in general throughout the entire state, because do know we still are inside of a drought. So if you do burn something tomorrow, make sure that you are keeping an eye on it, even if you're not in the orange area up there. If you're in the orange, I'd recommend not to burn anything, but if you're in the other areas, like I said, just make sure you keep an eye out if you are going to. Excessive rainfall is not expected as we go throughout tonight, tomorrow. Same thing for Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday. So let's go and look at the models. Time is at the bottom part of your screen. Make sure that you go on and pay attention to that, because that is very, 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 very important to look at. Very, very, very important, because if you do not pay attention to that, there's a good chance that you may lose track of where we are. So make sure you're taking care and definitely looking at that. But if we get all the way into tonight, going into tomorrow, what do you see? Absolutely nothing. We're staying dry all throughout tomorrow morning, getting into tomorrow afternoon, tomorrow evening, going into tomorrow night, and then going into Tuesday morning. What do you see? Nice, dry conditions. Now, since that's pretty much all for the short-term future, let's go in and check out the long-term future. And this is already going to cover a good amount of the week, so we're going to go on and talk about the week forecast in just a second, so we can go on and get that covered. But as we go into Tuesday, pushing this forward into Wednesday, going into Thursday, going into Friday, what do you see? Nothing. Nice and dry conditions continue as we go throughout the rest of the week. There is a chance that we may see like a shower pass by maybe on Friday, but that's like the only thing that I see throughout the rest of this week. So when I say a dry, nice week is definitely on the way, I definitely do mean it, and the models support me here. And when we go on and look at just how much rainfall we're going to get and what's the outlook for this week in terms of precipitation, no above average rates here throughout the entire southeast. The only area where you really can see kind of like some above average is up there in the very far northeast or over there in the Midwest. So in the long term, what I mean is that we're going to continue to see these below average precipitation rates. We'll get into temperatures in a second, but below average precipitation rates by the time we get into the rest of the week this week. So not great for the drought. Remember, we do have a drought going on, especially up there in the very far upstate, going on in the western low country as well. And if we go on and look at our temperatures, we're going to be above average. We're going to be above average. So again, just not a good sign at all for the drought. If you want to see this drought go down, this is not what you want to see. This is not what you want to see, as we have above average temperatures and below average precipitation rates. And we'll get into the heat in just a second. Obviously, we know we have the potential of 90s as we go into later this week, and we're going to talk about all of that right now. Because if we go in and look at our anomalies for the future, really just for this week, you can definitely see that increase in temperatures as we continue throughout the rest of the week. 10, 15 degrees above average, maybe even a little bit higher than that as we get into Friday. We're around 15, 20 degrees above average as we get towards the end of the week. So it seems like the more we move throughout the week, the higher kind of like anomalies we get. And if we go in and look at the actual temperatures themselves, we're going to start off here at 11 p.m. going to 2 o'clock in the morning on Monday. Still, as we move into Monday afternoon, we're looking at temperatures now inside of the lower 80s, so not too bad. Then as we get into Tuesday, now we're talking about some mid to maybe trying to get to the upper 80s. Wednesday comes along. Wednesday, we're really up in the upper 80s at this point. Then as we get into Thursday, we're talking about 90s, potentially possible on Thursday, but widespread 80s definitely are in the forecast for Thursday. Friday comes along. Friday, for sure, some 90s are going to happen as we go into Friday. And then as we move into the weekend, still 90s, especially as we get into Sunday in like that low country area going on over inside the Grand Strand areas on not obviously today's Sunday, but next week's Sunday. So that's the reason why we're seeing this, not only this below average precipitation, but also this above average temperatures. Just because, I mean, you just saw the temperatures for this week. They're looking honestly pretty far out there in terms of above averageness. Like we're looking at 15 to 20 degrees above average all the way into the 90s, maybe even some lower to mid 90s as we go into like later into the week. Now, how much rainfall are we going to see this week just in general? If we go on and look at the WPC, we're going to go and look at the southeast, and we look throughout the next 7 days, what do you see? Maybe like a little area right there of like 1/10 of an inch, but nothing else. Everybody else is staying dry as we continue throughout the next 7 days. Again, not what you want to see if you want to see this drought get out. Look at how much rainfall they're going to have over here in the west. Alabama, maybe only 1/10. Tennessee, only maybe around 6/10. Mississippi, maybe around 7/10. Arkansas, about an inch or two. Texas, about an inch or two. Oklahoma, about an inch or two. Now, of course, that's not including the all like of the states in general. Like Alabama might not see, like a good amount of Alabama might not see a drop. Florida might not even see a drop. And even over here inside of Georgia, they may not see really a drop either. So just this whole dome activity that's going on over here inside of the southeast is going to continue to keep us dry and continue our drought throughout this region right here. So let's go on now and continue to talk about our future. So past this week, what's going to happen past then? Well, as we get into not this week, but the week after, next week, we're talking about still dry conditions as we get throughout the beginning parts of the week, even as we go throughout the middle parts of the week. We're really looking for the end part of next week. We're seeing what's going to happen there, as maybe some rainfall, some relief may try to move through. But even as we go into around Sunday, Monday of the week after next week, that's really when I'm starting to see that rainfall chance, that activity start to increase up as we get into those last couple of days of April. How much rainfall does that bring us in general? I mean, not a lot. Total precipitation rates, I mean, maybe 1.5 inches over like 400 hours. That's a long time for only 1.5 inches of rainfall. But a good amount of it probably will happen, not really in a short amount of time, but around like 40 hours from each other. So we'll see, what happens as we continue throughout the next part of next week going to the week after. But for right now, rainfall continues to just seem just out of our hair as we continue into not only this week, but potentially even next week, at least the beginning and the middle parts. If we go on and look at the ensembles as well, ensembles can really show us what's going on in terms of like multiple different scenarios and what's going to happen if something is just tweaked just a little bit. It's really going to show us that. And One thing that I will say is that it's pretty confident that definitely somebody over the next 300 to 400 hours is going to receive around an inch of rainfall, which I would hope so, because 400 hours, that's almost around half of a month right there. And you're talking about an inch of rainfall. That's not too much at all. So I do think that this will happen as we get into the end parts of the month. As we get into the end parts of April, I do believe that we're going to get more active. But for right now, the middle part now going into that end part is going to be continue to be dry. And if we go on and look at the actual ensembles for temperatures for the anomalies, it looks like that we're going to continue to stay warm. But look at this, maybe a dry front trying to move through as we get into next weekend. That may bring us some cooler temperatures, maybe some gusty winds as well. And if we have those gusty winds with that dry air, that brings a fire risk. So maybe a fire risk next weekend. As we continue into next week, though, we're still talking about cooler temperatures trying to keep its way throughout, but warmer temperatures definitely try to infiltrate its way back by the time we get into the end parts of next week, going into the early parts of the week after. Actual temperatures, as we get into around Sunday, going into Monday of next week, looking like we're going to be back down into the 40s for our lows. High temperatures only getting into like the low 70s. And then as we go into around Tuesday, going into Wednesday, we're still talking about temperatures down into the 40s and 50s, but temperatures definitely trying to get back up into the 80s again. Thursday comes along, and maybe even that Friday of next week, we may be talking about some more 80s and 90s again. So, obviously, as we get more and more into summer and as we get closer to summer, these temperatures are going to start going up and up more and more to where we're seeing straight summer-like temperatures. We'll see when that starts, though. But that's all I have to say in terms of the long-term future and for this week's forecast. So, let's go on now and talk with the audience. If you want to be a part of the audience, you can by joining us here at 9 o'clock p.m. Eastern Time. Let's see what the audience has to say for tonight. Starting off, Mr. Risk was here first. He says, good evening, everyone. Hope you had a great day. Well, I did. Thank you so much for asking. And then Myatt Lewis says, good evening, everyone. Good evening to you as well. I pray that everyone enjoyed their beautiful Sunday. Well, I did. Thank you so much for that. Mr. Chris also says, got you around 84 degrees here in Moncks Corner, and currently it's around 70. Well, at my house right now, it was 82 as a high, and right now it's 65. Mr. Anthony says, good evening, everyone. Good evening to you. And then my Aunt Lewis says, I truly enjoyed the beautiful weather we had today. Today in Georgetown, our high was around 78 degrees, and currently we're at 66. Thank you for that weather report. Mr. Chris says, had a very nice day with the wife, went to church, and had a relaxing day. Glad to hear that. And then Trail says, greetings, everyone. Greetings to you. Mr. Chris says, looking forward to more nice weather throughout the week. Absolutely, and it's only going to be nice. Continuing our way down even more, Ms. Chris says, it's about time we're having some nice weather and not having freezing temperatures. I think we're done with freezing temperatures for the year. Well, for this part of the year. Obviously, as we get into fall and winter into late 2026, then we'll be talking about some more freezing temperatures again. But for right now, we're just talking about leaving those freezing temperatures right now. Mr. Chris also says, please remember to go hit the like button and the subscribe button. Also share with everyone that you know. It's free, and it helps the channel grow and gets information out to those who need it. Absolutely. Right now, we've had around a good 10 to 11 people tune in and about 7 likes. So if you have not hit the like button yet, go on and do so. Also hit the share button. Share with your friends, your family members, people that you don't talk to regularly. And hit the subscribe button if you're new. As we continue our way down even more, Milo says, I love warm weather, but too hot is a problem. Honestly, I would rather have too hot weather than too cold weather. So, we're going to just continue to kind of just be appreciative of that at least. At least we're getting some hot weather, not any cold 30, 20 degree weather at this point. That says, good evening, just from the 360 Weather family. Good evening to you. I trust all is well with you all. It was a very mild day here in San Antonio. We experienced a few 5-minute thunderstorm earlier. I'm not complaining. I'm happy for the rain, and you should be, definitely for sure. Definitely for sure. If I had one gripe, it would be that it did not rain enough. Well, even though, it didn't rain, I'd just look at it like this, or rain enough. I'd just say, well, at least it did rain. There definitely are areas, like here in South Carolina, we didn't get any rainfall today, so I honestly would be just kind of happy that you did get some rain. Just because at least you won't have to worry about extra days of no rainfall, extra days of not really getting the amount of rainfall that other people may not have seen. And also, just for you, I mean, you also know that where you are, rainfall is going to continue for you. I mean, you're going to be active. So we'll talk about that in just a second. Then continue our way down even more. My outlook says, looking forward to some rainfall when it comes. It will be welcomed. Absolutely. We can even use a hit or miss shower. Yeah, that's what I was just saying. That says, I really think it is a visible dome position over my community. It rains everywhere but here. I'm truly grateful for the mild temperatures. I know that this summer will be sweltering and possibly miserable. And then Maya Lewis says 90s wow indoor temperatures for me. Early grass cutting, absolutely. Yes, I will work in my garden at like 7 a.m. That says I'm just had my lawn service start Monday. 7 a.m. is pretty early, but it will give you a good head start before it starts getting hotter. We had a high of around 78 as well. And then Maya Lewis says, yes, it will. At the moment, I've got my plants inside of a greenhouse. And that's all that I can see here for me. So if you want to leave something inside the chat, you still can. I'll come back to it. But let's go in and talk about the 4 areas outside of South Carolina real quick. You might be asking, 4 areas, what am I talking about? I'm talking about San Antonio, Texas, Raleigh, North Carolina, Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, as well as Duncan, Oklahoma. The reason why we talk about these 4 areas because we have people from these areas who tune in almost nightly. And because they tune in almost nightly, we go on and give them their weather forecast for them. So starting off with San Antonio first, you have low temperatures tonight at 71, high temperatures for tomorrow at 85, and then low temperatures tomorrow night at 69 or 70 over here. But it's a bit different, it just updated. But it's 69 now for tomorrow night. Then in terms of your rainfall, chance of thunderstorms tonight and still a slight chance of thunderstorms tomorrow. And even if I go on and look right now and see what's going on, I mean, you still have some rainfall to your north. Will it reach you? I mean, right now it's looking like that it's moving to the east, to your north, so I don't think it's going to reach you. I think you probably could be done for tonight. You still have isolated showers, around you right now, around the San Antonio area, kind of like to your east and like lulling and in San Marcos and then Lockhart, Texas as well, where they're currently getting rainfall. Houston down there, they're under a flash flood discussion. Heavy rainfall, flash flooding possible over there. So they're definitely getting a good amount of rainfall. Even Dallas is getting in a good dose of rainfall. But for you, it seems like you're done for today. Now, in terms of your severe weather, any sort of excessive rainfall, looks like right now that you did have that slight risk of severe weather for today. From what you have said, I haven't seen anything too active for you here, so I'm going to assume that all is well and nothing too bad happened, which is great to hear. And in terms of excessive rainfall, for right now, you did have that risk for tonight, for that slight risk. It's still there, but like I said, I think they're going to let that expire out. For your future, temperature-wise, you're going to continue to stay in the 80s. In fact, you may even try and get to the 90s later this week. And then as you get into like the beginning parts of next week, we're talking about maybe temperatures getting down to the 70s for your highs. So definitely watch out for that. And I think that that's about all that I have to say for you. Maybe except for your next chance of rainfall after tomorrow is around Wednesday. And then after that, it would be the weekend after, Saturday and Sunday. And then for Raleigh, you have low temperatures tonight at around a good, let me make sure, 59. High temperature for tomorrow, 85, and then low temperatures tomorrow night at 62. Rainfall, not expected. In terms of your severe weather, excessive rainfall, you do have a risk of fire weather, not of severe weather or excessive rainfall, but fire weather as you get into tomorrow. So make sure that if you don't have to burn anything, don't, just because it is not going to be too practical to tomorrow as you have an elevated fire weather concern tomorrow. So don't burn anything tomorrow, not recommended. Now for your future, temperature-wise, you're going to be up into the 90s later this week. So make sure that you are aware and prepared for that. And you may even reach a mid to high 90 as you get into the next weekend. So it's going to be hot, 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 which is why I told everybody, not only for you, but also for South Carolina, if you had to get some yard work done before the middle part of this week, going into like this next weekend, definitely get it done. Definitely get it done before then, because obviously it's cooler now. But as you get more and more into the week next week, it's going to continue to rise. Those temperatures are going to continue to rise. And then for Philadelphia, you have low temperatures tonight at 52, high temperature for tomorrow at 81, and then low temperatures tomorrow night at 61. It's going to be breezy tomorrow, gusts as high as 30 miles per hour tomorrow. But rainfall is not expected until like next weekend, like Sunday, with a 30% chance of rainfall. So you're going to continue to stay nice and dry as well. In terms of your future, in terms of temperatures are going to continue to rise up into the 90s as well. You're also going to receive 90s as you go into Wednesday, Thursday, and then maybe drop back down to the 80s Friday, Saturday, Sunday. And then finally for Duncan, Oklahoma, you have low temperatures tonight at 66, high temperatures for tomorrow at 86, and then low temperatures tomorrow night at 66 as well. Isolated thunderstorms are expected tomorrow and tomorrow night. Will you get rainfall? Again, it's isolated, so, we don't know. But they will occur tomorrow. Now, as we get into your severe weather, excessive rainfall, you do actually have that risk of severe weather tonight, which it seems like right now it's not really impacting you as much. So I think that your severe risk is probably done. But tomorrow, you're still not out the woods. Tomorrow, you have a marginal risk of severe weather. It is for a 2% chance of tornadoes, a 5% chance of damaging winds, and a 5% hatched risk of severe hail. So hail being your biggest threat, because not only could you see isolated hailstones of up to an inch in diameter, but also some of it may even be of up to 2 inches in diameter. So make sure that you're aware of that. So you can go on and you have to move any cars inside. You have to go in and protect plants, anything like that tomorrow. Make sure that's a priority. And also, like I said, that tornado risk is there. And then Tuesday, you also have a slight risk of severe weather, that being for a 15% hatch risk of severe weather on Tuesday. Don't know what the hazards are quite yet, but there's a potential for some of that severe weather to potentially become significant as you go into Tuesday. And then you're still not done. Wednesday, you have a chance of severe weather, and maybe even on Friday as well. But that's all I'd have to say here in terms of your severe weather. And that's just severe weather. Excessive rainfall, nothing for tonight or tomorrow, but Tuesday morning going into Wednesday morning, isolated flash flooding is possible for you. Now, for your future, does look like that you will continue to kind of just stay in the 80s. You'll kind of bounce around from mid to low to high 80s, just bouncing around until possibly you get into this weekend, and we're talking about temperatures dropping down to the 70s, Sunday, potentially 68 being your high temperature. So your low temperature tonight could potentially be your high temperature going into next weekend. Rainfall-wise is going to continue, especially as you get through Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and then maybe even on Friday and Saturday as well. So rainfall for you is going to stay constant. And that's all that I can see here throughout the entire 4 areas. So good amount to talk about. And speaking of those 4 areas, let's see what's going on right now in terms of the entire U.S. weather news-wise. Well, heavy rainfall capable of causing flash flooding will continue to impact Hawaii through Monday. Severe thunderstorms and heavy rainfall is expected, or is possible, I should say, in parts of Texas and the southern plains, and even the upper Great Lakes. Heavy mountain snow continues in California, Sierra Nevada, and rain with gusty winds to lower elevations. Super typhoon, that's a interesting name. I think it's Sinlaku, will impact the marinas through midweek. So, there's a lot of things going on right now. Not only throughout the lower 48, but other areas as well, in Hawaii and Guam, in some of these other areas around us. So for us, though, we're continuing to stay hot out here in the east. There's still fire weather going on over here in the central U.S., going on inside the Rockies, flooding concerns, which we already touched on, and I think that's about all. So make sure, if you have not hit the like button yet, go on and do so. Hit the subscribe button. We're at 725, trying to get to that main goal of 800, and hit the share button as well. top fans of the night for tonight. Seems like that it was still a three-way competition. But if I go down and count real quick, I see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. And then I see around 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. That's 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16. So Mailua did win it for tonight. Mr. Chris got number 2, and then Thad got number 3. So congratulations to the three of y'all for being the top fans of the night for tonight. Let's go and give them a round of applause. Again, if you want to be a part of the top fans, you can by joining us here at 9 o'clock p.m. Eastern Time. Also joining us early and being a subscriber, because if you're not a subscriber, you can't type. And also being active, because if you're not active, you really have some hard chances of trying to get up to that top 3 group. So thank you to everybody who did type tonight, though. Rather if it was just one chat, 2 chats, whatever it may have been. And no emails for me for tonight, not that I see. So I think that we're good there. And then for the most part, that's all. So make sure that you tune in tomorrow morning for your Monday morning forecast update. Also tomorrow evening for your Monday evening forecast update. And as we move into, this is the second full week of April, but technically the third week. Next week is our last full week of April. And then the week after that, we go into May. So, all of that will be covered for you. Make sure you tune in then. And everyone have a fantastic start to their work week.